Welcome, everyone, to the Indie Reds podcast. I am your host, Joe Dilling. With me on this episode are Bryan and Jim. Welcome, gentlemen.
I am saluting you by saying cheers with my natter day.
No, please. Really?
No, I'm kidding.
Do you have a straw in your natter day? Maybe we'll get to that a little later.
I'm not drinking a natter day out of a Chimay glass.
The tiniest glass they have.
Tiny Chimay.
All right.
It's like an 8-ounce pour of the natural light.
Yeah, natter day. All right. So tonight we're going to talk about Liverpool, top of the league, club record, 13 league wins in a row. We're going to break down Champions League groups, and we're going to maybe discuss how dumb the international breaks are in September. So we're just going to jump right in tonight and get started with the chat on Burnley. So the Mighty Reds traveled to Turf Moor, a.k.a. Dave Fishwick Stadium, to face Shasses Douches' men. When we spoke last, we were expecting the typical trip to Burnley, where they pack the box and counterattack and hope to get a goal, kick us extra, that kind of stuff. But I think that's kind of what Klopp was expecting to see. I think that's how he set up the team. I don't think he really changed the formation or lineup. I think maybe just kind of in prepping them mentally for it. That's kind of what he was looking at. And I also thought he started the strongest side. Shots from outside the box, typical of what we see against Burnley. Fabinho had a few. Virgil van Dijk took a couple as well. Others along that line as well. LFC looked surprised LFC looked surprised at one point in time because they were kind of on the back foot in defending in the first couple minutes of the match, and I don't think they were expecting that at all. And Burnley actually had the first shot and forced Adrian into a save. However, LFC adapted, and it looked like Burnley might have done a let's try for 20 minutes, and then if that doesn't work, then we just go back to our normal tactics. So you've heard my take. What's yours? We'll start with you, Bryan. Why am I wrong?
Well, I predicted a 3-0 win last week. That's exactly what happened. I wasn't worried about Burnley. Burnley played exactly how I expected them to play. Lots of long balls. I don't think we were scared or defending like crazy in the beginning at all. We had a shot in the first minute. They had a shot after a minute and 20 seconds, which if that had went in, it was offsides anyway. Good long ball from one of their center backs, I believe, over the top, and ended up getting a corner on it. One of those things where if they score, VAR overturns it for offside, but flag wasn't raised, so they get a corner out of it, and unfortunately they didn't score off of it. So it's I don't know. I guess those are just sticking out to me more and more now when you get a corner that you really shouldn't have, but that's just, I guess, part of the game now. We were fine in the first half, and Adrian had to make a couple of saves, but they weren't dominating midfield. They weren't, making us play any differently than we normally play. I don't think. It was good to see the kind of workmanlike midfield that Klopp put out there. That's exactly what you do on a tough road game, and I thought we were fine. We're to the point now where we're going to play the way we play against pretty much everybody, except maybe for City. Maybe slightly, tempered a bit, or maybe slight adjustments on the road in a place that can be tough to play at, such as Turf Moor. But I thought we were fine. I mean, it wasn't a spectacular first half by either team, but they did kind of what I expected, played a lot of long balls. We dealt with the majority of them, and tried to work the ball through midfield and counter best we could, and we were creating chances as well. So I agreed with some of what you said there, but maybe a slightly different take on other parts of it.
All right. Jim, what's your hotake?
Well, I don't know if this is hot, but I pretty much agree with what both of you have said. Yeah, lukewarm. So I suppose my lukewarm take is I think the thing that stands out about this match, and this is to a certain extent some of which you guys have already covered, is that it seems like in the past when we've gone to Turf Moor, it is an exercise in trying to break down the low block and trying to break it down and trying to break it down. And then eventually we break through maybe sometime in the second half. I thought it was different this time in that, and I know we're going to talk about Trent's goal, but once that goal went in, I think the complexion of the game changed a bit, and Burnley were a bit easier to pick apart. We, not surprisingly, had the lion's share of the possession. I think we had over the 60%, if I remember correctly. And our shots margin, particularly shots on target, was pretty lopsided in our favor. So I thought all around, again, not the most attractive of matches, although I say that after having only watched the match once and watching the highlights once, and we were watching the match at UJ, and I was distracted by Michael Mead's beverages of choice. But I thought overall, I mean, I think this is we played with a real sense of purpose. I think this is what we're going to see a lot throughout the season against teams like Burnley, where we're going to put in a workmanlike effort and win the game pretty comfortably, I would say.
It's one of those feelings where in previous seasons we might have gone up 1-0, or even where you're playing Burnley and they're packing the box and you're trying to break them down and you're struggling to break them down, where we don't win, we get a draw. But this season it's 3-0. And it all starts with the first goal from Trent Alexander-Arnold. So he looks to have a mishit across at first, but it finds that sweet spot where the keeper can't get to it. Jim and I are both saying Shass, but it ended up being ruled an own goal. Even surprised Klopp a little bit in the mix zone. If you haven't seen it yet, go find it. It's spectacular. It's actually covered in the highlights with NBC Sports. You don't have to have NBC Sports Gold to get that either. So go and look for that. So, Bryan, what's your opinion on it being an own goal?
Well, it was definitely an own goal. I know Klopp's in the mix zone afterwards. He was surprised by it. There's an easy explanation for that. He hadn't seen the replay yet, and I'm sure he had. Maybe he saw it at halftime. I don't know. I doubt it. That's not the kind of video that they're watching at halftime, but I'm surprised how many people don't think this was an own goal. It has to be an own goal. There's no other explanation for it. And it may be the most unlucky own goal you'll see in a decade. It may be a little bit harsh, but Trent is hitting this ball as a cross. When Trent hits the ball, it is not on goal. The deflection puts it on goal, and it just sneaks inside the far post by about 2 inches.
Yep.
With some right to left swerve on it. So if the ball doesn't strike the defender, it's not on goal. It can't be a goal unless it strikes this defender and changes its direction, even just by a little bit. It changes direction. It takes a ball that was not on target, puts it on target, beats the goalkeeper. It has to be an own goal. It can't be anything else because Trent's shot was not on target. So I get why Klopp was wondering, why was it own goal. He hadn't seen the replay yet. I bet if you haven't watched the replay and Trent watches the replay, ask him, was Trent's strike on target? They're both going to say no, it wasn't, because it wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only reason it's not an own goal is if it's on target. Or at least that's what I was hearing on some other people talk that are more knowledgeable than I am, or at least on the topic. So, yeah, I mean,
I haven't seen anybody say it was on target, but I might have been.
No,
I don't follow.
No, they were saying
you do. So
that would be the rule. That would be the rule for it to have counted for Trent if it didn't change like the path of the ball. But that's the thing; it did change the path of the ball. You can actually see it when it glances off of his back. It changes it, and like you said, it was a cross. It was going that way. Now, why the defender has his back to the ball? No idea. No idea at all. And I think Burnley's got more of a reason to be upset about that than anything else.
That and maybe how their goalkeeper handled that cross shot, deflected, whatever. Their goalkeeper didn't look too good on that one either. I'm not saying it was an easy save, but he acted like he knew a cross was coming and then realized with about 5 yards to go that I'm in trouble here.
It looks like he was waiting and sitting back, not going out and trying to get it, but waiting and sitting back for the ensuing attack from the cross or the deflection. You know, that's the way I remember seeing it as well. He wasn't just going out after it or trying to make a save because he was caught off guard by that. But anyway, that's
yeah. No, I wasn't at Union Jack with you guys. What was were people surprised that it was an own goal, or were people, calling out Trent's name like he can just shoot from anywhere and he's a god, or what?
I don't want to overstep or speak for everybody, but I thought at first,
please do.
Everybody thought it was a Shass. I mean, Jim and I both were going, oh, actually, I think Jim was the first one who goes, that's a Shass! But then, on replay, it's going around and you're, I think everybody they were cool with it. I mean, they're like, yeah, it's an own goal. I mean, they're not cool with it, but they understood it was an own goal. We felt disappointed because Trent didn't get the goal. I mean, I don't have him on my fantasy team or anything like that, so it didn't really matter in that regard. But yeah, I don't know. It is what it is, and I think it was probably the right call for an own goal. Jim, do you want to add anything on that?
No, I think everything that Bryan has said and you've said is correct. It was just a matter of perspective. We, as you guys have said, we hadn't seen the replay at that point and hadn't really, it was one of those things where, you're in the moment, you're watching. It looked like he was crossing the ball, and as you've said, it wasn't a shot on goal. So that's that.
All right. So moving on, I thought the game changed at that point, and I felt Burnley were chasing a lot more, pretty much for the rest of the match. We've kind of already talked about this, but Jim, is there anything that you want to bring up in that? Do you think I'm wrong in this regard, or we'd already been there?
No, I think that once that goal goes in, as I've touched on previously, the complexion of the game changed somewhat. I mean, Burnley were still they were coming out a little bit, but not as much as you would expect a team in that situation to try to equalize. So they were doing what they could to try to handle us, and it just wasn't working. Very frankly, I mean, they had a few dangerous moments before the goal, but that was it really for them, from what I can recall.
It kind of felt lackluster to me in a regard.
It did. It was not an entertaining match. Well, I guess I shouldn't say it was entertaining. There were moments, but I thought it was a pretty dull affair for the most part, compared to some of the matches we've seen from before in this season. Comparing it, for example, to other clubs, that Everton Wolves match was a lot of fun to watch. I don't know if you felt the same way or you saw very much of that match. But
no, it was Friday, wasn't it?
No, it was Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah, it was
Sunday.
A Sunday.
No, I was in the remote Indiana where the Wi-Fi is shit and the LTE service is even worse. So, yeah, in that regard. So, moving on, I did have out here that we were going to talk about Monaghan and the Mo spat, but we will not be discussing this, as 2/3 of the votes in the last minute poll that we had are people saying that they're tired of hearing about it. However, it does kind of bring up a interesting talking point. A lot of times when we're watching the matches, I know I'm going pass, and they're not passing no matter who it is. So Jim, do you have a feeling on if you feel that maybe Mohamed Salah is a little too selfish? Granted,
I think,
striker position is a selfish position, but do you think Mane had a point?
At least for this particular match and that particular play where Mane got upset, yeah, I do think he had a point. I know that Mane had already scored. Bobby had already scored and Mo was looking to equalize, but every so often Mo, I think, does not make the best decision. Is it something that is endemic to his play? No, it's not. But on that particular occasion, I thought he could have picked his head up and looked for Mo, because Mo was, as what gave rise to the controversy, was standing with nobody within, I think, probably 8 to 10 yards of him. But I don't think this was Mo's really one of his better matches. Aside from the shot where he hit the post, I don't think it was bad.
Pope pushed it into the post. That was a goal.
Yeah, that was going in. You're right. He did get a fingertip to it. But aside from that, I don't think Mo was terrible, but this certainly wasn't. He wasn't up to his normal standards.
I mean, even on Bobby's goal, I think Bobby's goal. Sorry, he ends up he just misplayed it, and Bobby was right there, and it wasn't an intended pass.
No, it wasn't. But to be fair to him, I think the defender stepped on his foot. I'd have to go back and watch the replay, but I recall seeing some tweets, and maybe even Bryan pointed this out, that the defender stepped on his foot. So I'd have to watch it again. But I agree. I mean, he did not intend to play that ball to Bobby when he was moving with the ball toward the middle there.
So, Bryan, what was that a pass to Bobby? I mean, give me your take on this.
Yeah, I'm with you. Definitely not. I mean, it was a bit of a heavy touch, and but Bobby was right there to put it away. So, it's a good thing that when Bobby wound up to take the shot, Mo didn't punch him in the face or something to try to take it away from him. I didn't think that was going to happen, because if so, that would have happened earlier in the game. But go back and watch that goal. It's Bobby that plays the ball wide to Mo before he cuts inside and takes that dribble, and Bobby finishes. Bobby has to run his ass off to get there, even into that position, to put it away. So, good example of being in the right place at the right time. Good example of Mo being dangerous, cutting in from the right onto his favorite left foot, and Bobby pops up, puts it away, and it's 3-0 at that point.
Yeah, it was great.
Just like I predicted.
Just like you predicted. Bryan, I didn't give you a chance to talk about it. What do you think about Mo's selfishness in the final third, especially? Do you think that it's an area that this team that he needs to improve on, or is it just a striker being selfish and all strikers are selfish?
To some extent, yeah, strikers are, and I want them to be. And strikers at this level should be, selfish to some extent. I think this is a kind of a perfect storm situation, and I was a little surprised how Mane reacted. That's certainly not in his nature.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something that I trusted the club to handle immediately. Hell, I mean, walking back down the tunnel, that face that Firmino makes, I'm sure you've seen this video and even still shots of this face walking in the tunnel while he's standing or walking in between Sadio and Mo. You guys see this face? It's classic Firmino. I mean, that is people's Twitter avatars, tens of thousands of people around the world, and just classic Bobby to make that face and look at the camera. Those guys had already moved on, and you had Milner and Bobby kind of hanging out with Sadio on the bench, and
Milner gets up and moves over
Klopp
next
didn't
to him.
react. I mean,
Klopp was laughing.
What's
at
that?
it. Klopp was laughing at it. Plus, Milner moved in between Bobby and Sadio. I don't think there was anything going on between those two. From what I had heard, at least, and I think they said in the Athletic, that Mane was actually yelling at Henderson, because we never saw who he was yelling at, and he was yelling at Henderson about something. And it probably was about Mo, and maybe it was more of the whole, you're the captain of this team kind of thing or whatever. But if you listen, if you look at it, when when Mane's going off, Klopp's chuckling on the sideline. I think Klopp loves it, because it just shows the hunger of these guys. But I thought it was great it was a good move by Milner to move in and kind of get it calmed down. And if you haven't seen, James Milner actually commented about it on on Instagram or Twitter or whatever. But I think also, I think Bobby played a big part in it too, because if you're watching the video of it, he just reaches over and goes, "Hey, yeah, we're good. And Mane's immediately like, "Okay, I'm cool." And they're both like, "Yep, we're good. Let's go." they're focused on next match, my opinion. So, we said we weren't going to talk about it, but we did a little bit.
They had it taken care of. I don't think Klopp.
Klopp's
well, there's no way Klopp was happy about this.
He's like, we'll handle it in the dressing room.
In the moment, he's just going to stand there and not react. He's not amused by it by any stretch. I think he can't go over and handle it or scold anybody or react really in any way whatsoever. He did exactly what he was supposed to do at that moment, and he probably shouldn't even have been smiling about it, but that's a pretty benign reaction. But NBC showed some footage of Mane clearly yelling at Salah across the field. So
we saw that too.
That's where the issue was, but it was taken care of quickly, both publicly and having a laugh about it, as you mentioned. I mean, Milner's comment was that Mane was so pissed that Milner didn't get into the game, and that's why he was so mad. And Salah and Mane were both, commenting on that. So the club and players moved on very, very quickly. A lot of Liverpool fans did not move on very, very quickly, and some still haven't. So, but this is an example of how the club handles things that aren't perfect in the moment, and how these players can get over things quickly. And I wouldn't be surprised if they each set each other up for a goal next match. I mean, that's just how they're going to be.
I expect to see something like that too. So moving on, man of the match, Jim, coming to you first. If you want to start with honorable mention and then move into your man of the match, we can do that as well. So Jim, you are up first.
So I think this is a tough choice to a certain extent because I think as a group we played really well. Although, as I mentioned, I don't think this was Mo's strongest match. But I'm going to kind of cheat here and make it a tie and say, well, here, let me just do this. I thought Fabinho was the man of the match, and Bobby would get honorable mention. Although I think you could easily swap those two. For man of the match and honorable mention, or just say they were both men of the match. So that's a real big cop out.
Jim.
I know. So I'm trying to.
Here I am.
I'm trying to have my cake and eat it too.
Here I am thinking I'm going to have a hot take, and he's going to go with Bobby Firmino. I mean, Bobby was great. I'm going to have a hot take, and I'm going to bring up Fabinho. Bryan, what? I mean, Jim already ruined it for us. What about you, buddy?
Fabinho being a hot take
as man of the match, yeah.
No, that's not a hot take at all. That is like saying Klopp is tall. I mean, he was excellent this match. So, watching this match was very different. I mean, Owen had a game during the match, so I didn't get to go to UJ as I mentioned earlier. And we went to, get something to eat afterwards with one of his teammates and this kid's parents that Owen's old coach from his club days, they're has a kid on the same team that's Owen now in high school. So we go to eat together. We walk in and I'm thinking, okay, I'm good. I've got the DVR going at home. We walk in the Liverpool games on in the 60th minute. It's on 10 TVs. And I'm like, shit. So I get this, it's 2-0 at that point. I get this score kind of spoiled right away. And that hasn't happened to me in a long time. I hate that. So I'm watching the game at home in a very different way because I know how it's going to end up. And I saw, Bobby's third goal live as we were sitting there, waiting for our food to come, et cetera. So a little bit of a different kind of watching experience for me than I normally have. But I think, if you look at the highlights, Fabinho really isn't anywhere in there. If you just look, even the extended highlights NBC has, but there's a great video out there on YouTube. I think it's Fabinho against the Clarets or versus the Clarets or something like that. And it's just all of his touches. And he was all over the place. I didn't look up his heat map. I'm not real big into those kind of stats sometimes. I come across something interesting, I'll look at it. But he was everywhere. He won 5, 6, 7 head balls. He was in corners. He was on both touch lines. He was making long passes. He was making simple passes. He was winning tackles. I actually thought this video was just isolating his good touches. And then about 5 minutes into the video, about 40th or 50th touch, he finally kind of puts one wrong and then does another one wrong maybe 3 or 4 clips later. I'm thinking, holy crap, this is just like all of his touches in his first 40 were terrific. So he was really, really good. I have to give him, though, my honorable mention for Fabinho as man of the match, because I think Bobby is the man of the match here.
Yeah,
I know his goal wasn't necessarily required to win the 3 points, but it was a good finish, and he had on his bike overhead kick earlier in the game, which it kind of wasn't the best strike, but he's trying that kind of stuff. He's just everywhere. I mean, he won a tackle almost in the 6-yard box and dispossessed a guy and got a shot off that was blocked too. I mean, he's just been exceptional. I think without him, we have to play a completely different game than we want to. And without him playing the way he did, we're a different team on the road. And I'm glad he's sharp right now and doing well. And so Bobby Firmino is my man of the match.
I thought that's where both of you guys were going to go. Bobby, I mean, if you look at, he's everywhere also. I mean, he drops the furthest back of, heck, sometimes he drops back further than the midfielders. Not Fabinho, because Fabinho's playing the 6, but he is just having such a good time this season in that 6th position. I mean, Jamie Carragher after the match goes around and says that he's probably the best true 6 in the game right now. Now, granted, N'Golo Kante doesn't play a sole 6 position and might be the only one that we could consider rivaling him outside, but he plays more of a box to box right now. So, but you're right, Fabinho's everywhere. I looked up his heat map just as you were talking, and there's very little, if any, red. So that means he wasn't there a lot because he was moving so much. But a lot of it is in that it's in the opponent half, but that's because of the way that they were playing. But it's up to the box and around. He took a couple great shots. They just didn't come out for him. I have a feeling we're gonna, by the end of the year, we're probably gonna see a screamer from Fabinho. He had to be my man of the match. He was great. I thought Virgil had a really good game too. He didn't have a ton to do, but what he did, he just shut everybody down. I think he was boosted maybe a little bit because I mean there has been some talk that maybe he isn't as great as he has been. Some people saying that Joel Matip's been playing better than him since March was one of the things I've heard. I don't necessarily agree with that, but anyway, Fabinho has to be man of the match. I mean, he was just great. Bobby had a really good game too. Sometimes those tricks and flips they're gonna come off. I'm glad he didn't no-look his goal. It would have been awesome if he had, but he might have missed it. And he knew it too. So, moving on, you guys ready to move on, or anything else you want to throw in before we move on to talk about Champions League groups?
I'm good.
But whatever you want, bud.
All right.
You're the boss. You're the clap of this podcast.
All right. So here's what we're going to do.
I'm just John Henry, and Jim's Linda Pizzuti.
Jim's too old to be Linda Pizzuti. Oh, yeah, that is true. Jim old jokes. All right. Okay. So what we decided to do was we're going to break down just kind of each of the Champions League groups. If you're unaware, the Champions League draw was late last Thursday, and Liverpool was drawn, and we're going to talk about them last. So we're going to talk about, each of us is going to take a group or two, and we're going to tell you where we think they finished first or second, and the others can chime in and tell us where we're wrong. So I'm going to be told I'm wrong first, and I'm going to start with Group A. So in Group A is PSG, Real Madrid, Club Brugge, and Galatasaray. And I said that wrong, but Galatasaray. Galatasaray. I knew I said it wrong right away, and I took my glasses off, so that's on me. I think it's pretty much going to end up. I don't think it's as cut and dry as a lot of people are going to think. Because I mean, everyone's going to see Real Madrid, and they're going to put them down as one. But I still think Madrid's struggling a bit. I still think PSG and Real Madrid are going to get out of the group. But I don't think it's going to be, 2 wins and a draw. 4 wins and 2 draws, for each of those teams. I think Galatasaray might shake them up a little bit with Daniel Sturridge playing for them. and I don't know enough about Bruges, but I'm probably going to put PSG 1, and I'm going to put Real Madrid 2, because I'm not sold on this Real Madrid team, even with Eden Hazard. But as we know, he tends to disappear. So before we move on to Group B, Jim, Bryan, what are you thinking about my takes on Group A?
I just say watch out for Club Brugge's goalkeeper.
Yeah, Simon Mignolet.
He might have a really good couple of minutes, and who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Make a save or something.
All right.
It'll be waffle.
But no, you're right. PSG and Real Madrid are likely come out of there. What do you think, Jim?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's really nothing I can disagree with there. I think they're going to finish well. It'll be a toss up between 3 and 4 with Club Brugge and Galatasaray, but I think PSG will finish 1, Real will finish 2. So there you go.
All right. So Group B, Jim is going to be Jim. In Group B are FC Bayern, Tottenham Hotspur, Olympiacos, and Red Star Belgrade.
Yes.
So just a little side note, I'd originally looked this up on the UEFA website, and it actually had what they're called in their homeland
Serbian,
spelled that way.
The Serbian name,
I had the Serbian club, and I had to guess on like Zenit St. Petersburg is something completely different because they didn't even put it in Cyrillic. So I have in here Serbian club I won't attempt to pronounce, but someone typed in Red Star Belgrade. So Jim, go ahead, break down this group for us, bud.
No, I'm going to be boring and say that Bayern will finish 1, Spurs 2, and then I think it's a toss up between 3 and 4 for Olympiacos and Red Star Belgrade, although. Red Star Belgrade was in our group last year, weren't they?
Yeah, and
if I'm not mistaken, and we lost in Belgrade. So, don't count out that team. I don't know how much change they've gone through in the off season. I am not an expert in the Greek league. I'm not an expert in the Serbian. What's the Serbian league called? The Serbian Superliga and Super League Greece. I guess all these leagues are just totally super. Sorry.
Super
duper.
Thanks for asking.
Bayern is sitting, I think, second or third in the Bundesliga table right now. They drew one match. I think they drew
one or two games. I mean, seriously, isn't it only been like 1 or 2 games?
It's been 3. They played 3 games this season. Who did they draw against? They drew against Hertha Berlin. Okay. In their first match. They beat Schalke 3-0 away, and then they destroyed Mainz 6-1 this past weekend. So they're going to be the team to beat in the Bundesliga again this year, I think. And Spurs are Spursy, as we saw in the match against Arsenal this past weekend.
Yep.
Where they took a 2-0 lead away at the Emirates and then screwed the pooch. So. But they're still going to be strong enough to hold up to get out of that group.
Yeah,
that's my scientific analysis of Group B.
I'm right there with you, Bryan. Anything you want to change around?
No, I think Jim's right. The only way that this wouldn't work out is if Spurs, get an injury or two, or Kane finally gets suspended for his voluntary simulation plunges that he's been taking. And it would take Belgrade and Olympiacos to get a draw, or maybe both of them getting a draw at Spurs to really shake things up. But I doubt that'll happen.
No, it won't. There are a lot of reports that Christian Eriksen wished it was like Football Manager and he could just force his way out of the club. So he's apparently unhappy. But I mean, I think when Champions League comes around, he's going to be happy enough to play for this team. So I'm with you. I think that's probably how it's going to shake down. All right. So moving on to Group C, Bryan, the citizens of Manchester, they're flying all over Europe. They're going to Shakhtar Donetsk, Dynamo Zagreb, and Atalanta in Italy. What's your take on this group, bud? I didn't give you an easy one.
Well, I don't know about that last one, Atlanta. I mean, I think that's the MLS team. It's good to they're finally getting the recognition they deserve.
They'll be playing at Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
They're in a tough group. No, this actually is the first. I think I don't want to say interesting group, but this isn't as easy to pick as the other ones so far. City obviously are going to top this group. I don't expect them to really drop any points unless they get to the latter stages, maybe their last away match or two, and they play some of their second tier players or give the kids a break or some time or something like that. City will run away with this, but after that, I don't know. I mean, I don't know much about Shakhtar or Dinamo Zagreb. Atalanta has that kind of Serie A pedigree, so to speak, and they have long histories of these kind of middle of the road Serie A clubs, kind of setting up shop and getting 0-0 draws on the road, and then taking their chances at home. So, if so far of all the pot 4 clubs that we've had on the list, they might be the one that kind of shakes up a group. But and it could also be Dinamo Zagreb. So they're not going to pull a pot 3 miracle like we did last year, to come out of pot 3 and just go all the way to the final. But really, it's City, easy group again. It's like the Premier League. They play against Brighton, it seems like, every single frickin' week. And this group here, they're not going to be bothered by this. They're going to log a lot of miles sitting on an airplane, but I've always think that's overrated and how difficult it is for players to do that anyway. But living in America, these teams fly 4,000 miles round trip just to go play a game. So it's just seen as different in the soccer world and certainly different in the Champions League. But City will come out of here, and I'm going to pick Zagreb as a upset and to maybe get out of the group and watch out for that MLS team from Italy.
Bryan, I disagree with you on the how I think it's actually going to have a negative effect on City traveling so many miles. When hearing about,
I love that. Tell me about it. Sounds good. Keep going.
Hearing about Liverpool coming back from, when Liverpool was coming back from Turkey, granted played Chelsea in the whatever, one of those cups. And then coming back, I mean, granted, it went to extra time and then went to penalties. They're talking about they didn't leave the hotel until 2 a.m. local time. And then don't get back till like 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, back into the UK. So, they didn't even have a day's worth of practice going into the weekend. Now, granted, that was it was like a Wednesday to a Saturday because Liverpool's only played on Saturday so far. And they're going to give them, and the Premier League's going to start moving some of their games to Sundays, especially there. So they'll get at least a little bit of time in there. But I mean, if you're not getting off a plane till 6 o'clock in the morning, you're going to go home and see your family. You're not going to go train. And I don't know about you, but I don't feel the most relaxed. And if I pick up even I'm not going to say I'm any kind of athlete and I pick up a little knock, but I mean, everyone, it's proven people's feet swell when they're on airplanes. So they tell you drink as much water as you can and, wear loose clothes, all that crap, because you don't want to be completely miserable. So, I mean, even the air travel in it can take its toll. So I'm hoping to see, and it might just, maybe I just said what I'm really thinking, and that it's a hope. It's a hope that that they're gonna have to sacrifice some of their league play, and maybe they drop a few points in the fall. Just a thought.
I'd love that if this causes them to draw one game in the Premier League. During the initial round of fixtures here, I think that would be great. I'm all for that. So, whatever we can do to make Kevin De Bruyne's feet swell up, I'm all for it. And we certainly can't make Raheem Sterling's head swell up anymore.
Oh, dang, you took my joke, but I was going with Sergio Aguero.
Wow.
Oh, man. All right, so next on the list is, Jim, I didn't give you a chance. Do you want to chat about that at all?
I really don't have anything to add, although I think Atalanta stands a decent chance. So I've actually been watching the Serie A highlight show on ESPN Plus. I don't know why. I guess I'm just curious to see what things are like in Italy these days. And if I'm not mistaken, they just won. No, they lost. So they lost to Torino at home, but they won. I think their first match. I don't remember who that was against. But just watching brief spells here and there of Serie A matches. I mean, the level is certainly nowhere where it used to be, like in the 90s when Serie A was the place to be. Mm-hmm. But it's nothing to wave your hand at and dismiss. So I think the level of play is certainly better than it is in Ukraine and Croatia. So don't count them out on that basis. But again, that's only kind of a half-informed opinion. So take that for what it's worth.
All right. Moving to Group D, potential group of death, in my opinion. You have Juventus, Atleti, Bayern Leverkusen, and Lokomotiv Moscow. I have Madrid winning this group. I have a feeling there are. I mean, if you've looked at just the names put on there, plus they have on that team, plus they have oh my gosh, plus the Diego Simeone as their coach. Yes, they did lose. Oh my gosh, I'm spacing it. But anyway,
they lost Griezmann.
Yeah, there we go.
But they brought in Joao Felix.
Exactly.
So it's really not like missing anything.
So
how good it is.
I have Atleti winning,
and they got Kieran Trippier.
Yeah, Kieran Trippier, and he seems to be loving life there.
Yeah,
from all accounts. Needed a
They
shakeup.
have a strong side. They really have a good team.
Yeah, I'm probably going to put Atleti winning the group, and then I'm probably going to go Juventus. I think it's going to be close between 2 and 3 though, because Leverkusen's a pretty strong team. And Moscow, I think, could surprise some people, especially when they're at home. So, but I think that group, it's going to go Atleti 1, Juventus 2. Cristiano Ronaldo will pay off the officials if he has to make it to the next round. Brian, Jim, you want to weigh in on that at all?
I agree. I definitely think that Atleti is going to win the group. And I actually think when they play Juventus, particularly at home, they'll beat the crap out of them.
Yeah.
At least I hope they will. But because Juventus is still relying a lot on Ronaldo to carry them. So, but yeah, I agree.
Brian?
One thing to add to that, Lokomotiv Moscow, despite having one of the best names in the Russian Premier League, it just is, at least in my opinion anyway. They're not off to a good start. 8 games, they've conceded 8 goals. They're in 6th place in their league. Let's see here. 4 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses in 8 matches. So they're probably going to get clobbered by everybody. Madrid has a good chance to win the group. Juventus, it's probably going to be Madrid and Juventus. But Bayer Leverkusen is one of the better pot 3 teams, in my opinion. There's a couple other good ones that are coming up. But Did you guys see the and our Liverpool supporting listeners will probably already heard about this. Did you guys see the Juventus roster news today?
Yeah, Emre Can was
Emre Can.
Leave.
Emre Can left off the Juventus Champions League roster, at least for this first round of games. So, he's not on the. He will not be playing in the group stages. Juventus said, "Don't need you, bud." So, best of luck to him going to greener pastures to try to win things. Because,
yep, exactly. All right, we're going to move on. Group E is Liverpool's group, and we're just going to bring that one up at the end. So, Group F. James, Group F, Barcelona, Borussia Dortmund, bring on your Internazionale, and also Prague. What are you thinking about with Group F?
I think this is going to be a pretty tight group, actually. So initially I thought, they'll finish in the order in which they're listed on the sheet, which is Barcelona, Dortmund, Inter, and Slavia Prague. But I think Barcelona, Dortmund, and Inter are all, I don't want to say they're relatively evenly matched or precisely evenly matched, but I think that you could maybe roll a 3-sided die if there ever was such a thing. and come up with a different order for this group every time. Barcelona has not looked good.
Nope.
In Serie A, or not Serie A, La Liga this season. Dortmund started off pretty strongly in their first 2 matches, but they lost to Union Berlin on Saturday, and pretty handily too. It was a 3-1 result, I think.
Yeah, Bastian was telling us that it was 2 set-piece goals, but still.
But still, yeah. And Inter, I don't want to say they're necessarily. I mean, so Serie A's only played 2 matches so far, but I don't think Inter is really going to strike fear into the heart of many other teams in the Champions League. Although they have who do they have that? They have Lukaku.
Mm-hmm.
They have Diego Godin, who used to be at
Madrid.
At Atleti. They have Stefan De Vrij. It's De Vrij, right?
Yeah.
I'm getting my pronunciations wrong. And they just picked up Mauro Icardi. And they have Alexis Sanchez too. Although he's what is he? 38 now? 52?
I don't know, but
61.
It's going to revive his career.
Well, I'm not sure about that.
Don't they also have? Come on. Ashley Young.
Do they have Ashley Young?
He went to Italy. I thought it might have been.
No, I just pulled up the roster. I do not see him on their roster.
Maybe he was the one that went to Roma. Then maybe he went to Roma.
Nobody goes to Roma.
But
I think
Esposito.
Sorry.
If you look at Barcelona's performance at the group stage in the Champions League, they usually are really, really strong. Of course, it's not until like the last couple of years where they've pulled a choke job in the knockout rounds that things have gotten dicey for them.
But let's be honest.
I'm going to go with Barcelona 1 and Dortmund 2. Although those could easily flip. So yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. We keep hearing about how Barcelona is shaken, but they also brought in Antoine Griezmann, and they also brought in. Oh my gosh! Yeah. Wait, did he go to Barcelona or did he go somewhere else?
Who are you thinking about?
Oh, the defender that we wanted really badly. At least the fans did.
De Ligt?
Yeah, De Ligt. He went to Real Madrid, didn't he?
Yep.
Okay, so my mistake. But anyway, they brought in Griezmann, so I mean, if Luis Suarez isn't playing up to snuff, they'll go there or they'll move it around. I think Messi will come out of it at some point in time. I don't think I'm kind of with you though, Jim. I don't think it's gonna be an easy win. But
no.
If Dortmund doesn't get their heads out of their asses, they're gonna go out. They're gonna go play in the UEFA League. But yeah, I think it's Dortmund's second place to lose. Let's just put it that way. I don't think trips to Prague is going to be that easy for anybody. And plus, we don't know really what we're going to get out of Internazionale because it's last year at the San Siro, too. We keep hearing, and they're going to want to put that on a high note. So, Legendary Stadium, we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. Bryan, anything you want to weigh in? Go ahead, Jim.
Oh, I was just going to say the Dutch player you were confusing De Ligt with that Barcelona has is Frankie de Jong.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
The midfielder. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Bryan, anything you want to weigh in on Group F?
Barcelona and Dortmund are going to run away with it. So,
okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I suppose at first Barcelona fans might not have been happy getting Dortmund, but by getting them, that really meant, or it definitely meant Leverkusen couldn't come out of pot 3 because that's 2 German teams in there. They're not doing that in 2 and 3. So, Dortmund might not be a bad pick for them. Those 2 are going to walk all over this group, I believe. So,
all right.
Barcelona's not going anywhere in the group stages. I mean, they're just too good.
So, staying with you, Bryan, Group G, Zenit St. Petersburg, Benfica, Lyon, and Red Bull Leipzig.
It's kind of an interesting one. Zenit St. Petersburg, again, not an MLS team from Florida. So for those of you that are down there in the Tampa St. Pete area, this is a team from Russia. We're going to call it the Super Russia League, just for Jim. They've also played 8 games, and they're in 3rd place, so they're not exactly tearing up their league. They're already 5 points behind the leader in Russia, and we'll ask Joe to pronounce that the leader in Russia next pod. But Zenit might be the pot 1 team that isn't going to make it out. I think Benfica and Lyon might have a chance to do something there. So no one likes to fly all the way to St. Petersburg and play, but Leipzig doesn't really worry me at all, and it's coming out of pot 4. But Zenit's certainly the weakest pot 1 team, and I think Benfica and Lyon might be the 2 teams to go through.
Jim, you want to weigh in with your Ligue 1 knowledge?
Leipzig's looked pretty damn good in the Bundesliga so far this season.
I haven't really watched them at all, so keep going. Tell us about it.
Hold on, I'm trying to pull up the standings here and pull up who they played so far. Well, they haven't played super strong teams at this point. They beat Union Berlin 4-0 away, Eintracht Frankfurt 2-1 at home, and Mönchengladbach 3-1 away. So I don't know. I wouldn't count out Leipzig as maybe finishing in the 2 spot. I think Benfica is going to win the group. That's my prediction.
I'm with you there. I think it's going to be a battle between Lyon and Leipzig, to be honest. Everybody knows how big of a fan I am of Timo Werner. But then you also look at the squad list for Lyon, and you're seeing Moussa Dembélé and Memphis Depay. And that kind of that might, they're going to score some goals. They're going to create some assists. So, looking between those, looking there, probably because I want it more, I'm just going to say, Red Bull Leipzig advances out of that group instead of Lyon. But also because we all saw, everyone was talking about how great Depay was, and then he goes to League of Nations and just lays an egg. That's my 2 cents. All right. I'm the last one besides Group E. Group H, Chelsea, Ajax, Valencia, and Monaco. Man, guys, this is a tough group to predict, because we've all seen Chelsea this season, and man, they are struggling. There's no other way to put it. They're really struggling under Fat Frank. It might also be that N'Golo Kante, I just said it wrong, N'Golo Kante is injured and not back yet, but Tammy Abraham's coming alive and playing really well. I think Chelsea wins the group. Ajax just got pillaged for players. I think they're going to struggle. They weren't even guaranteed a Champions League spot going to the last qualifying round. I think, and I hate talking about teams outside of the top 3 in Spain, but I think Valencia is probably going to get that second spot. Let's have some discussion, guys, on this one, because it is a little interesting. Bryan, what are you thinking about Group H?
I think you're right. It is an interesting group. I do believe Chelsea will win the group. I agree with you there. Ajax, had to make it through the qualifiers, but still are in pot 2. That's really based. Well, obviously the pot positions are based on recent performances, and they're weighted. And they had that crazy comeback. Who'd they knock out in that crazy game last year? Was it Juventus?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's partially weighted on them pulling that off in the quarterfinals. And you're right. They've lost a lot of players. I think it's Chelsea, Valencia. On paper, it looks interesting. Monaco could. It really depends on the road results for Valencia and Monaco. I think whoever does better on the road out of those 2 teams will have a chance to win maybe their last game or 2 and finish second. So it also kind of depends on really who's playing Chelsea last. I think if Valencia or Monaco is playing Chelsea last match day at home, that could benefit them, because Chelsea would have it clinched, and they would send – they have nothing but kids. They probably send 16, 17-year-olds at that point, because the rest of their team's 22, it seems like. And that could really benefit a team that plays them late, with Chelsea already having clinched. And if Valencia or Monaco has done well on the road early in the early matches. One of them could sneak in, and I think Ajax is going to stumble. Yeah. Jim, am I crazy?
My only thought is adding to this is Monaco's really bad. I mean, they were really bad last season, and they're really bad this season. I don't think they're going to come anywhere near finishing in the top two. I think it's going to be Chelsea, Valencia, Ajax, Monaco, probably. That would be my.
You watch more Super League than I do, so
Super League League Magnifique.
All right, drum roll, please. Group E, we're all going to get a shot. Liverpool, Napoli, Red Bull, Salzburg, and Genk. Jim, you're up first, man. Just tell us the order.
Just like that.
Just like
LFC,
that.
Napoli, Salzburg, Genk. And Salzburg third because Jesse Marsh. Because Jesse Marsh.
Stan Darsh. Sorry.
Old South Park callback there.
Yep. Bryan, what are you thinking about our group?
I think anyone that's a Napoli supporter is thrilled that Salzburg and Genk are the other two teams in the group. So we'll win the group, and it very well. I think Jim's right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Us, Napoli, Salzburg, and Genk. And I don't know very much about Genk and Salzburg from the Austrian league. I don't think I've played any team from the Austrian league since FIFA 99 or something. So yeah.
By the way, the Austrian league is called the Austrian Fußball Bundesliga. It is not called a Super League.
Oh. Yeah, I have it in order as pronounced. But I think my biggest takeaway, we know Bryan doesn't give a shit about this, but my biggest takeaway is that we're not going to Ukraine. We're not going to Russia. We're not going to Croatia. We're going to Italy. We're going to Austria. And if you look at it on a map, it's not that much farther than a midweek trip to Munich, to go to Salzburg. And then we're going to Belgium. Yeah, great draw, I think, in Liverpool's thing. You could probably already mark them up as winning the group. I mean, yes, you have to play the games. And yes, there's still a lot of time until December when it's official. But this is, I don't know if, excuse me, I don't know if Liverpool could ask for a better group. Let's just be honest. Maybe if they replaced I'm scrolling up. Come on, Joe. Zenit, St. Petersburg, but that would be about it. So I think I'm really happy with this group. Any closing thoughts? Maybe something that came up to you guys a little bit later. Oh.
Hey, let's do a round of 16 prediction. No, just kidding.
No, because that all depends on draw. All depends on draw. All right. Okay. We could do this as a plug, non-plug, but I'm just going to give you guys an open floor. We are now in the international break. What are your thoughts on September international break, Jim?
Stupid.
All right, Bryan.
They are completely necessary. It doesn't mean that they're annoying, because they are. But if this was a World Cup qualifying year, if this was anything else, there'd be some very important games happening. There aren't this time, and so that does make it annoying. And I don't like going 2 weeks without watching our team play. And the new FIFA isn't out yet, so we're stuck with the old one still. Fortunately, I've got a bunch of games to go watch Owen play, so I'll be able to get through it. But I feel for you that don't, for those of you out there that don't have an outlet. Maybe that's why all the craziness is happening on Twitter, and then all this attention on a few other topics that we've touched on today and some others. So
it is.
They're necessary, and they are annoying. And really, the only thing I am worried about is I want all of our guys to come back healthy, and that's really all I care about.
The best news is that the African players they were not called. They didn't call any African players because they just finished Africa Cup of the Nations, and so they've decided to give all those guys a break. Now, instead, those our African players are staying, they're going on a little bit of a vacation, give a little more time away, maybe a little more time off those legs. So I'm not complaining too much about that at all. So good for them.
Let me just say also that to be fair, there are Euro 2020 qualifiers during this international break, which I think start tomorrow. Ireland plays Switzerland. That looks like most of these matches I think are on ESPN Plus, right?
I think
ESPN and ESPN Plus.
So here's my take then. Here's my take. Yes, there are quote unquote meaningful games that take place. However, if your team is not playing meaningful games, why the hell do they call these guys in September? They just got back with their clubs. We're 4 games into the season. Other leagues are even less. It's completely ludicrous. It's the dumbest thing. Now, granted, like Bryan said, if it means something like you're qualifying for Euro 2020, that's fine. I could see our guys going. But there's no reason for your Americans to leave Europe. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze here. 1 second. Sorry. To leave.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I got a little on me, but we're all right. All right, to leave
Great
Europe,
beer everywhere.
Fly to the States to play a meaningless game against Mexico where they could get hurt because, I mean, let's be perfectly honest, man. The USA-Mexico matches are probably some of the craziest matches out there. And playing a CONCACAF game is just as bad because the CONCACAF refs are shit and they let shit go, especially with the small countries. And your American players are getting hacked left and right. It's one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of the Gold Cup, and it's one of the reasons why I hate World Cup qualifying. But it is what it is. It's a money grab for some of these national teams because what's the best match, what's probably the most tuned in match that the United States men's national team plays against? Mexico. And they hype it up and we have to live with it. And it usually doesn't live up to Dos a Cero anymore. Sorry. It just is what it is. Mexico's playing well. We're not. Moving on. Let's go ahead and start wrapping it up. Plugs, non-plugs. Jim's got some stuff here in our outline. So Jim, I'll let you start with plugs, non-plugs tonight.
I'm not going to be mean to you about beer reviews, Joe. So that's not going to.
You guys already slaughtered me. You guys already slaughtered me on our text.
That's not going to be my non-plug. We've picked on you enough, and I don't want to do
not
that.
Publicly.
No, why do it? I mean, Joe's entitled.
It's right here. I can read it.
Joe's entitled to his bad beer opinions. I don't think we need to rehash everything he said about a particular Three Floyds beer that was just fine.
It was short and sweet, so everything that I said, whatever. It was one sentence.
Yeah. So why don't you guys come back to me because I actually haven't thought through what my non-plug and plug are going to be tonight.
All right, Bryan, plugs, non-plugs, bud.
Jeez, I thought I had a minute here because Jim's diatribe here is well thought out, and I mean there's different colors here, and
I did the red
font changes. It looks like, which is right up his alley.
Fun with fonts.
So, Joe, I applaud your adventuresome palate now. You're trying sours and all kinds of crazy stuff. Not that everybody has to do that, but I like, different beers, and we'll try some crazy stuff every once in a while. And I like it when my, friends do the same. So you didn't happen to particularly like this one. So, if it was called Henderson Back Pass, you might have loved it. But I don't think the people up at Three Floyds know who he is, so we'll have to wait for that for another time. So I'm really kind of all over the place here right now as well. Let's see. So my boy Owen's playing high school soccer now for the first time. The varsity goalkeeper looks so much like Jordan Henderson, is unbelievable. If it'd be weird if I took a picture of this guy and shared it. Maybe I can do it privately. I certainly wouldn't do it, like on our Facebook page or whatever. So I'm picking Owen up from training the other day, and this kid walks out and he's wearing a Manchester United shirt. I'm thinking, oh my God, I resist the urge to hit him with my car. But he goes walking by, and I go, hey. And he stops, and I said, "You look way too much like Jordan Henderson to be wearing a Manchester United top." And he's like, "That's fair," because he must have heard this before. If you think back to the Hendo video where he's like juggling the ball and they're kind of goofing around on the youth team, it is a spitting image. I mean, it's the same dude. This guy's a goalkeeper on the varsity team at Owen School, so I had to throw that in there. And what else? I guess my non-plug is going to be towards like specific soccer dads. So Owen started at striker this year. His coach plays a 4-2-3-1. So last couple games he starts as the lone striker, and he's doing well. He's played left wing. He's played the right wing of the three there. He's played the number 10 behind the striker. He's played center defensive mid. He's played left back in a pinch when somebody got a knock, and I think he spent a few minutes at right back. So he's played everything but the two center back positions. I'm lumping the two defensive mids together, because he's been in there, and there's kind of two spots there. He's played like 7 positions on the pitch, so I'm happy for that. My non-plug is to all dads out there who don't want their kids to try new positions.
Well, I'll take that personally, because my son now has all of a sudden decided he's going to be a professional goalkeeper, and then it just tears my heart out, because I mean, granted, I've wanted him to play and I want him to have fun, but man, it makes it hard on me to sit back there and watch him. I swear, it's like he's watched too many Allison videos, because he's owning the box, flying all over the place. These other U9 kids have no idea what's going on, and he's just like all over the place. It's actually kind of funny at times. But we got a little extra training tonight, so that's gonna be my plug. Is the coach that stuck around for an extra half hour and ran through some goalkeeping training with him tonight. He really appreciated it. He was beaming from ear to ear as we left. My non-plug tonight is going to be I digress. I have another plug, and that's to our good friend Michael Need. Had a blast seeing you on Saturday, dude, in between helping Gabe move in. But just owning the Natter Day, deciding that you're going to get it, you're going to drink it in the Chimay glass, the tiniest glass that they had at the bar. Props to you, dude. I'll shout out there. I had non-plug. What's pissed me off? Mindhunter Season 2 is so good that I can't put it down. There's a non-plug. So, Jim, plugs non-plug.
Why is that a non-plug?
Like a plug.
That's a plug. The fact that you're binging the show and you can't wait to watch it is
because I'm missing other things like Notre Dame football. I chose to watch Mindhunter over Notre Dame last night.
That's my non-plug. You can watch Mindhunter anytime. And you choose to ignore your beloved Notre Dame football club.
Well, how about this, Jim? Let me look at some text messages, because I'm pretty sure I have about 30 coming across about you chose to not watch Notre Dame, plastic, and then non-like, or not like, and then laughing at Joe, all those things. So I just let it go, but man,
not plug us for making fun of you. Not watching Notre Dame.
By the way,
I thought for sure your non-plug was going to be me giving you crap about the position thing, because you know what I was talking about.
I know.
When I was saying that. So, hey, believe me, I don't like it when Owen goes and plays right back or left back. I mean, he can do it, and he knows how to use his left foot and when to use his left foot, so he can go back there in a pinch. But he got stuck back there for like 6 or 7 minutes one match, and it was driving me nuts. And Jennifer had asked me, "Are you okay?" And I thought, this is better than Joe having to watch his kid play goalkeeper and touch the ball once every 12 minutes. But
oh man,
yeah, it was kind of. You thought it was going to be bad if Jim gave you crap about some beer ratings, but yeah, I was a little bit harsher on you in a little more subtle way. But
I own it though, man. It's the loneliest position, because you're on an island. You're just literally you're on an island, man. You make a mistake and the whole team can turn on you, and I don't want him to do that.
But is he having fun playing?
And that's the other side. He is having fun. He stopped the penalty. Granted, it was right at him, but he stopped the penalty. And then I'm yelling, dive on it, 'cause
he's just kind of standing there.
Yeah, he's kind of standing there. The ball's loose, and I mean, the kid. This is their first time playing with a keeper, so they have no idea any of the rules, any of the tactics around it, because their coaches haven't had time to tell them any of that. So yeah, we're not supposed to sideline coach, but I sure do a lot when he's playing keeper because I know enough to be dangerous in that regard. So yeah. Anyway, so Jim, your plugs on plugs.
Well, my plug is Notre Dame Football Club for winning 5-2 away to Louisville last night.
At least there was 5-2. One loss in Louisville this weekend, right?
Yeah. They looked a little shaky in the first quarter on the defensive side of the ball. But,
I did watch the first quarter, and I think that helped my decision when Louisville marched the ball down the field and scored pretty easily 2 times in a row. And I'm just
then you stopped watching, and the jinx went away.
There we go. Maybe there we go. Luckily, there is no Union Jack jinx for Liverpool Football Club anymore.
That is true. I'd also like to plug Michael Mead, not only for drinking Natterday, but drinking Natterday out of a Chimay glass. He expressly requested a Chimay glass to drink his Natterday out of. So
now, not all of the listeners might know exactly what beer you're talking about. So why don't you tell us about the yeast? Tell us about the hops in it. Go ahead.
Well, it's Natural Light. So this is my beer snob review of Natural Light Natterday. It is a shandy. Which means that it is basically it's going to be a light lager or a blonde. Well, it's going to be a light lager because it's natural light, mixed with some kind of fruit juice. In this case, what is it? I can't remember. I had
strawberry.
Strawberry.
It's the tears of sad children. In there. It's the tears of sad United supporters. Kids.
So props to Michael Mead for. I mean, he's always great about his beer choices anyway. He drinks with no shame, and I give him a lot of credit for that because, unfortunately, there are still too many beer snobs in this world who make fun of you for the beer that you drink.
Hey,
right, Joe?
People make fun of me all the time. You don't drink IPA. What the hell's wrong with you? Anyway.
You just don't like hoppy beers. That's an acceptable thing,
and that's why that beer got a shit rating from me. Let's be honest; it was too hoppy and not sour enough. It was kind of a fake out.
Right? You don't expect a Berliner Weiss to have that much of a hop bite to it.
Nope, and you expect the bite to be from the sourness, and it wasn't very sour.
Well, it was appropriate. It's a Berliner Weiss sour. A typical Berliner Weiss is not super tart. It was just that it had hops on top of it, so. That canceled out some of the faint sourness.
Okay.
Your brain is melted.
Your brain just melted.
Right,
I could also go on a lengthy exposition about typefaces at subway stations and bus stops.
See, that's what I thought your plug was going to be. If you didn't know,
I've already talked enough about the Red Line's fantastic font choice for the bus station, so I will not cause the listeners to suffer through that.
So tune into our alternate podcast hosted by Jim. It's called The World of Fonts.
The World of Fonts.
It's about 5 seconds, and it's Jim going, this is a really cool font. See ya. All right. We've just gone on and on.
It's very, tonight. Very, very bold.
And gothic. All right, so let's we're going to finish it up here. If you want to get a hold of us.
You need to have a rim shot sound queued up for that kind of thing.
For my dad jokes.
For your dad jokes, yeah.
And Brian's dad jokes, too. If you want to get a hold of us, I put the contact information in the description. This is episode 88 of the Indie Reds podcast. I'm your host, Joe Dilling.
Wait. One more plug.
Yes.
A plug for John Green for being at Union Jack on Saturday.
Yeah, Brian, we didn't tell you this, but we also went up and asked him for autographs for our daughters to hang in their dorm rooms, and he was an asshole and said no.
Well, that's too bad. This was your chance to get him onto the podcast. Did you give him a card and tell him you need to get on here?
No. I'll be honest.
We were respectful. We left him alone.
Yeah, he was there with his son, and we just didn't want to intrude.
Okay.
and he was on the lower deck, and they sat families with us. It was weird. Anyway,
that was strange. Yes,
they weren't watching the match. All right, so if you want to get a hold of us, contact information is in the description. Thank you so much for downloading.
Wait. There's another non-plug. There was problems in South Bend watching the Notre Dame game on the ESPN feed there. So, although he's not hanging around very much anymore, the Manchester City fan that fixed up Emily's Fire Stick last year worked good. She was able to watch the game up there in South Bend. So, non-plug for not showing the game the right way up there in South Bend, and plug for having the Fire Stick set up so Emily can watch it there, Robert. So thanks a lot for that. And Liverpool's going to be City this year, so screw you.
All right, there we go. Okay, see ya. Bye.